She always have a new look, a new image. Georgia, where you at?
I am right here.
No.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody
Okay.
today?
Yeah, I'm doing marvelous. You must went to the motherland or somewhere, didn't you?
I felt like it this weekend, well, actually the last couple of weeks, going through the Juneteenth and everything, and just kind of setting your mind in a better setting because a lot is going on here in Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads all around and
Yeah.
nationally things are going on. And so I said, you know what? I started out and I was like, okay, there is just so much going on. Where do I start?
Hey.
So I'm going to start with my normal openings and I bring you greetings. I
Yes.
am Georgia F. Allen and our show is GA for Just Is, simply because it just is the right thing to do to fight on behalf of others. As always, always want to thank our host, our generous host, okay, Mr. Henderson Vaughn. He is who we call the dream maker, Captain 85, the person that kept me on the dance floor years ago.
Hello.
So we always want to pay homage to you, Captain 85, for all that you do to open up the lines of communication, to open up the airwaves so that we can bring a conversation to our listening audience. We bring a conversation each and every week, a conversation for information, a conversation for correction, as well as a conversation for transformation. And this is critically important because as we're going through these tough times, we have to recognize that it is our responsibility as community advocates, as community activists, leaders, if some people want to call themselves that. I just prefer to call myself the person that rolls up her sleeve, get in the middle of the mess,
Yeah.
okay, put some skin in the game and
Hello.
work on behalf of one another. So today, our topic is a little unusual. It said, don't waste your time or my time. Okay. And the reason why I wanted that conversation is because we got all of these loud mouths going on all around, wasting our time, even down to going to meetings, sitting in on council meetings or sitting in on committee and board meetings. You find that people like to waste your time. And you find that people will talk, 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 but they never have any solutions. They always have, I will get back to you later, or let me investigate a little bit more, or let me send it over to this team or that team or the other team, and let me find out. Let me get a little bit of more information. And so today, I just want to remind people your time is precious. Be very careful how you let city officials and other people waste your time. Every time we go to a meeting, we should have our own agenda. I don't care what kind of meeting it is, we should have our own agenda because we have a tendency, we attend meeting after meeting, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's face to face. And many times we don't have any type of agenda, we don't have any type of written plan, we don't have a report card on the progress or lack thereof. We have absolutely nothing. So, my message again is don't waste my time or waste your time because it is critically important that we reevaluate what we do, how we do, and how long we've been doing the same thing and barely get any results whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I'm here to talk with you a little bit today about some recent activities in the community, and I wanted to talk about this because we get all types of mixed messaging with regards to everything that's going on because things are moving at a rapid pace, I should say. Um, I, I wanted to kind of say, let's begin by just taking a look at our landscape here in Virginia Beach. Okay. I saw tons and tons of people commemorating Juneteenth. And that was all over Hampton Roads. And
Mm-hmm.
let's pay homage to Mrs. Opal Lee, because some people are like, well, I don't know about Juneteenth. Well, Mrs. Opal Lee is, I believe, 96 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she might have a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more wisdom, and a little bit more understanding than we, the next generation and the generation and the generation after that. So if she felt that there needed to be a national holiday, I am not going to dismiss my elders.
Hello.
Okay. I am not going to dismiss my elders. And what I saw is a lot of commemoration of Juneteenth. I saw a lot of celebration of Juneteenth, but I also saw something that just absolutely galls me, and that's the exploitation of Juneteenth. And we need to make sure that we are in control of these commemorations and these festivals and these activities as it pertains to our community. We should not allow anyone else to co opt that which our elders helped to create, because she went online to change.org. I read a little bit about her, went online to change.org, got a petition signed, and she got 1.6 million people. So I think she put a little work in.
Hello.
Prior to that, Mrs. Opal would do 2.5 miles every year in observance of Juneteenth. And she did that because it took 2.5 years to let Texas know that the war was over and that all of the Black people who had been held in captivity were free. So I think we owe her a bit of gratitude for the work that she did on our behalf. Family, I'm struggling with this chair. It's bigger than I am. So, what I sort of asked myself is, are we more excited about the party than we are about its purpose? When it comes to Juneteenth, and I want to say that again, are we more excited about the party than we are about the purpose? And yes, we want to support events. Yes, we want to support our community, but please do not lose the meaning. Please do not lose the substance. And please do not lose the proper and accurate history of Juneteenth. If you're from Texas, and I hear this all the time from persons who are in Texas, because they have been doing Juneteenth commemorations for years, because they were right on the ground and they understood how important it was for people never to forget how long it took America to let them know that they were no longer enslaved. And so it behooves us to read up on our history so that we can make sure that we pass it on from generation to generation, because that has been one of our biggest issues, is that we're not passing on our history. And of course, our schools don't have any intentions of passing on our history because they're too busy making it to a soundbite, making it into a slogan, when we want to talk about what Black people have done on behalf of this nation. They're busy making noise and creating chaos and confusion and making their children feel they are the ones that are making their children feel less than. See, because we're only sharing the history. We're not saying that you are less than. You choose to tell your children that because they want to celebrate Juneteenth, or because they want to do CRT, which I call the country's real truth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call it critical race theory. That's what the law schools call it. But to the masses, I call it the country's real truth. Okay. So we're going to let you know the real truth. Now, how you choose to swallow is on you. It is not on me. It is not on me. Okay. If you don't swallow it, then that's on you. I'm just going to give you the truth. Unapologetically, I am going to give you the truth. So, again, don't waste my time or your time. Don't waste my time, because that has been an issue that I have had in the city of Virginia Beach for decades, where where you go down to the city council, and especially the mayor that's sitting up there, he always want to smile. And there's just something about that smile that just makes me say, you know what? You are not genuine. You are not sincere. Yeah, you're smiling, but the whole time I can see your brain working, and it is not working on my behalf. So we need to make sure that we have our act together before we ever even walk in the front door. Any meetings that we have with any elected officials, number one, we should always have a meeting before the meeting. Number two, we should always bring somebody there besides ourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
And number three, always takes notes, because they will swear up and down that they didn't say something that they said. So let me say that again, because everybody's not in Virginia Beach, but this process you can use no matter where you are. Whenever you go to a meeting with elected officials, and I don't care what they look like, what color they are, what political party they are affiliated with, when you go to a meeting, always have your meeting before the meeting. Number two, always bring your own agenda of things that you want to discuss. And number three, always take notes. Because a lot of times we go down to city council and we actually say, well, thank you for having me. Hold up. I hear people at city council chambers all the time when they go up to the microphone, they say, well, thank you for allowing me. And I think to myself, you pay taxes.
I'm supposed to be here.
You are supposed to go before council and give them your case and let them know what your concerns are. That's what you're supposed to do. You don't have to get permission to do that. You call them up and let them know that you are coming. So wherever you live, if you're concerned about what is going on in your city, in your area, don't waste your time. Go down there and be prepared so that you can make your voice heard, because that's what they're there for. Okay. They are there to listen to you, because they are the elected officials, which means they're sitting in a position, but you still have the power. Understand and know your power. Leverage that power. Don't sit there and just say, okay, because this person is a congressperson, or this person is a senator, or a state delegate, or even the president of the United States, well, they're just the powerful people. On any given day, on any given day, you can come together as a community and pull together thousands of folk who believe as you do, and you can send a message to that president by leveraging your power. You have chosen for years not to leverage power. You thought that when you put someone in position that you gave them the power, but no. You keep the power, you leverage the power, and you wield the power. You don't give them your power. You don't ever give your power away.
Hello.
Again. Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I mean, I want to iterate what you just said on, comment on don't give away your power, because we have power, but we don't recognize it until it's too late.
Mhm.
And with people that we vote for, they have a tendency of shaking your hand before the vote, but after the vote and they win, they stay away from you.
Absolutely.
They don't even want to hold a conversation with you. Look, they won't even look in your direction.
Right.
So we have to always stay visual of those that asked us for our power to help put them in seat. And
Right.
then when they get there, the power ain't for you to get there and be in the seat. Your power is to recognize that the future generation is dependent on you to make the right decisions, because it's the next generation. I didn't live to get 70 years old. So it's not so much I want, but I know that the young people that's coming up, my grandkids, my great grandkids that will be in this area, just like my friends and the neighbors, the people that supported me for the years I was in business. I'm fighting and I do things because of them. So you're right in telling them and using that phrase, don't give away your power.
Don't give away your power. And that is so critically important. What we have done over the years, and in one way we can say yes, it's our fault, but in another way we can say we didn't understand, and there was no one there that we could trust that would help us gain access to the information that we needed. And even when we gained access to the information, there was like levels upon levels and layers upon layers. And if you didn't have a strong team of people who one could look at one item and one could look at another item and then merge that together so that when you went before council or the state legislature or the Congress or any of those things, city council, sometimes you didn't have the right information. You had it, but you didn't clearly understand it. So over time, more and more people have been educating themselves. But even with that, the clock is steadily ticking. Actions are steadily being taken, and people are continuing to move with or without you. And I say this to people all the time because I'm out and about and I'm shaking hands and I'm meeting people. And I tell them all the time, one or two people cannot solve the problem of an entire nation. And I call Black people a nation because we are so large and we spend so much money.
Hello.
That we are larger than many of the countries around the world in terms of GDP.
Well,
you know, and so we have to look at ourselves differently. And if we don't, who's going to? Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. They're going to be very dismissive. And for those of you who may be listening to me for the first time, I am Georgia F. Allen. This is GA for Justice. We do this every week on Thursday at 12 noon so that we have an opportunity to share information with those in Virginia Beach. But a lot of what I share is something that can be duplicated throughout the country as it pertains to where you're living, what issues you're dealing with, and what ways can you navigate through the systems that exist where you are. And so I do this show because I think it's just critically important that there is a voice out there that is not the typical voice that repeats the same thing from CBN to CNN to MSNBC to ABC, CBS, and NBC. And I don't like clicking on, and I don't do cable. So I have to click on the YouTube and look at all the different
It don't feel
networks.
bad. I ain't got it either.
I got rid of it because I was like, you guys are on 24 hours a day and I can click from network to network. And most of you are saying the same identical thing. You just saying it on a different network. And it just became very frustrating to me to pay to watch TV. And I was like, the whole time I was growing up, I didn't pay to watch TV. And I
Hello.
was just fine with channel 3, 10, and 13. I did just fine. Okay. And now we got 400 channels, 500 channels. We got a
Millions.
Sirius XM.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and you're like, well, how many networks can I watch? And what value is it bringing to me? And when I talk value, I don't just talk about money. I'm talking about what is going on in our community that makes things stronger.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't want you to waste my time, because if my elected officials think that I should come to council and bow down and humble myself, they're sorely mistaken. because they should be bowing down and humbling themselves and not feeling so arrogant just because they're sitting on the dais. Because guess what? I'm looking for replacements. If you have not seen my Facebook page, I have a big notice up there.
Mhm.
We are looking for candidates, and we're looking for them all over the city of Virginia Beach. So, for those who know me well, we're coming after you. Okay.
Hello.
We are coming for you. Right? We are coming for you because you're not doing your job. And so I need our people in the city of Virginia Beach to know we are coming for them. If they're not working on behalf of the citizenry, then that's a problem. That is a problem. And it's okay for us to speak out and speak up and let them know. I
Mhm.
speak to them in person. I call them up by phone. I send them an email. Oh, and by the way, if you don't live in Virginia Beach, or if you do, get on the phone and call your representative sometime. Have a conversation with them, but don't have the conversation alone. Have someone else in the room with you and put them on speakerphone,
Yeah.
okay? Don't have a conversation alone. Have folks in the room with you and put them on speakerphone because they need to know that we care about our community just as much as they care about their little child. And just as much as they care about their community, we care about our community too. And we don't want those potholes when we're paying taxes to you every single solitary year.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want the potholes either. So, with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit more about Juneteenth and holidays because if you think about it, if you think about Juneteenth, um, we have a tendency, and this is with any holiday, we tend to be in the celebratory mode and we love all the activity and we love meeting people, and that's great. But there has to be some substance. So we want you to make sure that you do not lose the history because we've seen this movie play before. Remember Black History Month? Black History Month was supposed to be about education, elevation, and excellence. We were supposed to be educating our kids about those who came before us, the Carter G. Woodson, the Thurgood Marshalls, the Ida B. Wells. We were supposed to educate our children about who these people were. Okay, so they had a place um, of elevation, of this excellence. You know, they had a bar. You know, because the bar has been lowered. Back in the day, the bar was high. We were talking to our young people about the various types of careers and opportunities that they could go in when we were talking to each other in our own schools. And the schools weren't spread all over the place, and our children didn't have to ride 20, 30 miles to get to school on that bus because they were supposedly taking our children to a better environment. That didn't always work so well. I went to that so-called better environment and was called that N word every day and some other words along with that. Okay. So keep in mind, yes, they had brand new books, clean books, and they weren't the books that they had passed down after the school no longer wanted the nice books. After they had wrote every nasty thing in those raggedy books, they sent them over to the black school. But our parents were still paying taxes when all this was going on. So again, as I said when I started, don't waste my time now because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to come to you correct. All right. And as I was sharing, Juneteenth, we've seen this movie before with Black History Month. Education, 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 elevation, 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 excellence, excellence, excellence. We have a responsibility to control those things in our community and not allow someone to exploit it or co-opt it. We watched it again with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, the first historical national holiday. Okay. And that holiday was specific. His wife, his children were specific that that holiday would be a day of service. What did they do? They want to have a MLK holiday sale? Well, first of all, he's not MLK. He is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Here again, we allow people to decide who our people are. So when y'all are in your church on Sunday morning and you hear your pastor say Martin Luther King, you should correct him. They haven't taken a bullet. This guy took a bullet at 39 years old. Never to see his children grow up to be adults. So how do we who are still standing and are placed in positions like pastors of churches and bishops and elders and all of these wonderful names that we give each other, prophet and prophetess. Oh, we give ourselves so many names. Oh, we are apostle and apostolite. I'm like, and we give ourselves all these names, but then we end up disrespecting ourselves and each other. So I'm going to tell you one more time. One more time. Don't waste our time. Be about the business. The one thing that I loved, because I'm a daughter of a pastor, one thing I loved about Jesus, he always said, be about the master's business. Be about my father's business. I need some of y'all Black folks. Could you please be about the business of making things better in our community? Could you be about the business? Okay. And yeah, I told Brother Henderson that I was going to bring a little bit of fire today, and I needed to bring some fire because I think we are getting complacent. And I say that because when we looked at these holidays, when we look at these three holidays, Juneteenth, Black History Month, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, when we look at these, they have very similar purposes. And if anybody knows me, they know I love Kwanzaa. Love it. Make no bones about it. Love it. Okay. And I do not apologize for being my beautiful, lovely Black self.
Hello.
I don't apologize for that. I don't apologize for being loyal to my beautiful Black community. I don't apologize. Okay. And as I said, they had similar purposes. One, to unite the community. Two, to promote community. Three, to build community. And so they also had another one, and that was the focus on community. And now we all over the place, creating chaos, confusion, and everything else because we moved away from family and decided that we want, oh, let me try this out. Oh, but one minute I'm born that way, and the next minute I decided to do it. What? Come on, y'all. Come on.
Sad.
Come on. What I need y'all to do, and yes, I'm saying y'all, because actually I'm from the country, honey. I used to say a word called reckon, and I went up to New York, and my nieces and nephews, they were like, what is reckon? What is that?
Yeah.
I say, I reckon so.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm country, and I don't mind, I brag. Okay. But they focus on community. They set standards. And guess what? Our standards was non-negotiable. We didn't just jump on every bandwagon that came along. Oh, this is something cute and cutesy, and let me try this and let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have to try everything. Okay? Let folks have their stuff over there and let us have ours over here. Let us stand on principles. Let us have our standards. Let us keep our morals. Okay? All right, let's be of sound mind, because some of y'all ain't got no mind. But I need you to be of sound mind, okay? And so when we were setting our standards that were non-negotiable, we broadened our reach. We broadened our reach in economics. Remember, we had city after city after city that were strong vibrant. Economics was flowing. As a matter of fact, it was doing so well until here comes the enemy, here comes the oppressor. What's wrong with the oppressor? Is he too lazy to build his own city? Is that what it is? Because I get confused when you tell people to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and when they go from Wilmington to Rosewood, from Springfield to Tulsa, when they go to from Elaine, Arkansas, when they go to all these cities and they build and they're vibrant and they're moving and they're shaking and everything, and then you feel the need to bomb them out. Give us our money back. You said, well, I can't give you your money back because that was back in the day. Wait a minute. Y'all did this in the 1920s.
Hello.
You did this in the 1920s, okay? Some of those kids are still here today. They are still here today, just like Sister Opal, Mrs. Opal Lee. Mm-hmm. She's still here today. So you were in there burning down stuff. When other folks who didn't have anything was able to sit there and take that dirt, take that wood, cut down those trees and build hotels, build office buildings, create businesses, even though you wouldn't give them 40 acres and a mule. Hello. I'm just saying. I'm just coming correct, okay? Yeah. All right. But we continue to broaden our reach with economics, political power, and substantive legislation. We worked on behalf of the masses. And now we're watching who? Those that walk through the door, what they do? They said, let me go ahead and sue the U.S. Supreme Court about affirmative action. Okay. So in layman terms, I would say the same people that we fought to get through the doors are now spitting in our faces and closing the door behind them. Interesting. And their mama and daddy and grandparents didn't say one word. Said, no, don't do that. Because just like you going and suing Harvard University and the University of North Carolina because you feel like race should not be considered. Okay. Race shouldn't be considered in affirmative action. Did you read all the things that the people had to have to be considered in the first place, even before the race was part of it? Now, I didn't get a chance to read the whole entire findings of what the whole entire rulings, I should say, the court ruling. But if you haven't heard, I just want to let you know, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down affirmative action using the lawsuit from the University of North Carolina and the lawsuit of Harvard University. Okay, those are two of the oldest universities. Now, when I read part of the ruling, is that this is how Harvard described how they do their numerical score in considering people that they're going to invite to their university. They have a numerical score that is based on 6 categories: academics, extracurricular, athletic, school support, personal, and overall. That sounds like a whole lot of categories before they ever get to race, okay? Hello. Does it sound like a few categories out there?
I hope. That's a yardstick and a hand.
6. And now these little children who came from other countries and other nations and stuff have decided, oh, Lord, we just can't get in. Our grades are perfect. We're just the best children. Uh, did you read extracurricular as one of the categories? Did you read athletic? Can you do anything besides uh, punch some data into a machine? Is there anything else that you qualified for? Okay. And I'm not trying to be funny.
Right.
I'm just trying to keep it real. Okay. How was your school support? Did you get along well with others? Because I know when my children are quiet, they say, well, they don't play well with each other. Well, you don't want them to be noisy.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in any trouble. Okay. So when I looked at school support and then personal, that's when people send letters on your behalf and say, hey, we recommend this person. And overall, they do consider race. But they also consider what else? Geographic location. So are you asking us with the affirmative action, can people who live in rural areas not go to Harvard University because they live in the rural area? Are we going to leave them out? Is that one of your suggestions? Or you just don't like Black people going to Harvard and UNC? Because I want to understand this. Because I know when we fight, and I have been in many fights, when we fight to break down barriers, when we fight to open doors, we do not pull that door closed and lock it. That means everybody gets to walk through the door, whoever you are, wherever you're from. Then it goes on to another 40-member committee, and they take a review of the persons who have applied to Harvard. And I'm only going to do Harvard because UNC is very similar. There's not a lot of difference between what Harvard looks at and what UNC looks at. And of course, I didn't have a chance to read the whole thing because it just came down. The ruling just came down from the U.S. Supreme Court. But the 40-member committee review, they take into consideration race to determine, check this out, that there is no drop-off or decline in minority admissions from prior year. That sounds reasonable. If the population is growing, shouldn't the population in our colleges and universities also be growing?
Hello.
So should the race be less and less every year if the population is growing and growing every year? I think that's reasonable. To the listening audience, if you're out there, feel free to put a note up there. Let me know because I'm confused. They also looked at some other things, considering cutting some folks out of the possibility of going. And guess what they looked at? They looked at legacy status. How many people are in Harvard, UNC, Cornell, Stanford because of their legacy status? Their daddy's name is on a building. So whether they have any athletic ability, whether they've done any extracurricular activity, whether their academics is up to the right level, whether or not they have any type of school support, personal support, or overall support, because their mama or their daddy name is on a building, this legacy status allows them to pretty much get into whatever school they want to get into. So if you want to be concerned about, oh, but I just can't get in there because, they're considering race. Well, if you want to ask about something, why you didn't ask about legacy status?
Ask them when they go in the bank with their checkbook. The man asked about race.
Yeah, ask them. Yeah, when we go in with that, they'll tell us we can't have a loan simply because of our race.
Hello.
Okay, when we want to open a business, they say no simply because of our race. When we want to buy a house in a certain neighborhood, we get a no simply because of our race.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money we have. I can't. How many people have we seen in New York City going into a store? Even Oprah went to a store over in Europe somewhere,
Yeah.
and they were trying to turn her away because the item that she picked up was in such a high amount. They looked at her and just assumed that, my goodness, she can't possibly afford that.
Oh, really?
And once they said that to me, I would say, thank you very much. Have a nice day. And I would have walked out.
Mm.
And then when I bought it somewhere else that treated me well, I
Mm.
would have posted it everywhere. I said, oh, you know those diamonds that I was going to buy for $100,000? I chose to give my business to someone else.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But it's unfortunate, but many of our people will still shop in the same place that people disrespect them.
Yeah.
And that is alarming to me. That is so alarming to me. The other consideration when they're looking at possibly cutting people from attending Harvard was whether or not they were a recruited. I don't know why they said consider cutting, but that's how it read. It said legacy status, recruited athlete status, financial aid eligibility, and then race. Race was the fourth item on the list. So they say it's a determinant factor. But I found that to be very interesting as it pertains to our Supreme Court. And the reason being is we have elections all the time. So for those of you who are always screaming and yelling that the party that you elected, they don't do nothing for me. They don't do nothing for me. Well, guess what? The other party put three very conservative Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court. And guess what you got? They knocked down affirmative action.
Yeah.
That's what you got out of that deal. So for that party that don't do anything for you, I just don't want them to harm me, okay? Because this one's clear and simple. That is to the disadvantage of our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. Is this ruling that the Supreme Court just made? And I want to make that very clear because we have people all the time. Well, so and so didn't do anything for us, man. If I had been president, I would have did all this stuff. Tell me where you're going to get your votes for all the stuff you were going to do.
Hello.
Tell me where you're going to get your votes. Because probably if you had been president, you would have never seen a House or a Senate. As a matter of fact, so many people would have probably lost their seats when you became president, that it would have been worse than anything you could even imagine. Because if you're walking around trying to make rules and regulations and pass legislation, and you only have 1/3 of the House or 1/3 of the Senate, that means they got a super majority. So you're not getting anything passed. So tell me how you're going to do all this stuff. You're going to write a whole bunch of executive orders.
Yeah.
But tell me how you're going to get past the legislation that funds the executive order. Because, yes, the executive order can be written and it can be signed, but many executive orders also need some type of funding. Otherwise, it's a piece of paper. And I
Hello.
think a lot of people don't understand that. An executive order is simply a piece of paper that a president can go forward and say, I signed this executive order so that so and so could come out of jail. I signed this executive order because I want to see better things going in your community. But you didn't give any money. Congress didn't pass any bills of any type of appropriations. They didn't appropriate any money. So you can pick and choose political parties or personality, a person that you like. But I hope this is understanding. I hope people understand this. Depending upon the type of executive order that is signed, if it requires funding, that means it's got to go into committee. It's got to go to appropriation. It's got to go to finance. It has to go through all these committees. And depending upon what area you want that money to go to, is probably got to go into some of those other areas too, like housing, okay, community reinvestment. Now, if you can get the Congress, and that's both houses, that's both the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, if you can get them to sign legislation, to write legislation and pass legislation to support that executive order, then you actually have money. But up until that point, you have a piece of paper. That's what you have. You have a piece of paper that someone said, okay, I'm going to do an executive order. Yep. And you did. And you run on doing executive orders. I did all these executive orders. But never once did they say, and I got legislation passed to fund the executive orders that I signed. Have y'all heard anybody say that?
Nope.
Have you?
Nope.
Because there was a gentleman, I don't call him gentleman, but there was a person who sat in the White House and signed executive order after executive order. Have you heard him come back and say he went to the Finance Committee, he went to the Appropriations Committee, and he actually got funding for the executive orders that he passed? Have you heard? Did you hear anything about that? So to those of you who are listening to me today and sharing this far and wide, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of information, because we sit back and we complain and whine and cry about stuff, but we don't think about what it is that we need to do just a little bit extra, rolling up our sleeves just a little bit more, making sure that we are identifying persons to serve in positions of authority. Okay, I say that purposely because you want to make sure you hold the power. Let them have some authority to make decisions and so on and so forth, but you should have the power to go down there and tell them, these are the things that we want you to authorize. You don't just get to do the stuff that you want to do. You get to do the stuff that the community want you to do in their best interests. And these are the fights that we need to have. This is the purpose why we are here. Do you understand?
Yep.
Do you understand? And I know I kind of talk to myself by looking at myself in this TV screen. I'm also talking to those of you who are out there, who are listening, and who are trying to get this stuff figured out, because it's not easy. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, laws and legislation would have been passed years ago to end some of the foolishness that has been taking place in this nation. If it was easy, if it was truly easy, we would see communities cleaned up, revitalized, and they would be revitalized by us, because we would get that contract versus this other person that comes in and get the contract, use subpar material, make it look good on the outside. Oh man, it's got the glitter and the gloss, but it's just as the stuff on the inside, the materials are horrible. Folks are falling through the floor of these buildings that they're putting up. But your council members, or if you're in a county, your county commissioners, they continue to vote for the same people to get contracts when the contracts they had the last time, the work that they did was very shoddy. But then they tell you that you can't get a contract because you need more bonding. Oh, your bond is not high enough. You need to be bonded at $5 million, even though the place that you're about to build is only $1 million. I need you to be bonded at $5 million. Well, why is this guy bonded at $500,000?
Yeah.
He got the contract Why did he only get bonded at $500,000, but I need to get bonded at 5? So these are the type of things. I'm just using this as an example because I don't want anybody to go running around the whole city and say, well, Georgia said. Okay. I'm just trying to give you an example. Remember how Jesus talked in parables? Okay. I sort of do the same thing with this radio show. I just kind of give you some ideas so that you can go out and do your own research and so that you can go out and ask questions, but don't do things alone. Make sure you go out and work along with people. And of course, because I do love Kwanzaa, the point of this today is we need to be united. If someone is coming after us, we need to come after them. So the next time somebody have a problem, stop going out there standing up for everybody in the world. Fix your own community. Unite your own community. Okay? Next thing, collective work and responsibility. I'm talking to you about this today because guess what? You need to come together and work together for the good of the community. Next, cooperative economics. Buy from each other. We have this thing called Hampton Roads Green Book. It is an online book that tells you about the Black businesses here in the Hampton Roads area. Pull up the Hampton Roads Green Book, find businesses that you can purchase from, support those businesses. And if you're out of town, guess what? It's online. So if any of the businesses have things that can be shipped to you, go online and order from them. Hampton Roads Green Book. And self-determination. We have been kicked around, put down, slapped around so much. So nobody has self-determination like we do. We have gotten up so many times, we done forgot how many. We done lost count because that's how many times we have gotten up over and over and over again. And we have built and rebuilt. And we have rebuilt again. All of those cities that I talked about, those were thriving communities. Business owners, owners of bus companies, taxi cab companies, owners of hotels. And of course, as always, yes, we do have our barber shop and our beauty salons, but we also had our own banks. We had our own newspapers. We had our own radio stations. Okay. We did the hiring. We had the people. We did all of that. And then the oppressor has the audacity to suggest that we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps when we neither had boots or straps. And we still did it all. Many of the houses that you see on those old plantations, the folks who owned the plantation wasn't competent enough or didn't have the skill set to build the columns and to do the work that the folks who were oppressed did. And many of those buildings are still standing today.
White House.
Don't believe me? Yeah, take a look at the White House. If you don't believe me, take a look at that Capitol building.
Hello.
Okay? They didn't do that. The oppressor did not do that. Hello. We did that. And as I said, I was coming with a little fire today and for a couple of reasons. One, I did not like the turnout of the election this past time. We had 3 Black people in a race. One person non-Black threw their name in the race. And guess what? We don't have the seat because it was 3 Black people splitting votes 3 ways.
Hello.
Let that be a lesson to you. Okay? We now have a young man that is suggesting that he might want to run from one of our strongest members on city council. You know why he's suggesting he wants to run? Because the oppressor suggested that he run for that seat.
Wow.
How you going to sit here and run for a seat without asking your own community if they're okay with you running for that seat?
Yeah.
Talk to your people first before you hop up and decide you want to run for something. Because believe it or not, we might seem like we're a small community, but we have eyes and ears everywhere. We have eyes and ears everywhere. I get notes and messages all the time. And just like that happens here in Virginia Beach, I will assure you that is happening in other cities throughout this country. So if you are someone who wants to run for office in your respective communities, talk to your people first. Don't let some knucklehead come to you and suggest that you run for a seat that you already have. That's someone who looks like you already have it.
Hello.
Okay. Find out from the community, how do they feel about that person that's elected to that seat? Because I got a seat that you can run for.
Mhm.
I sure do. I tell you, I wish one of the somebody would run for one of these seats on city council, because I sure enough would love to see this person leave.
Mhm. Any names?
Okay. Would love to see them leave. And I'm working hard trying to find people. Okay. Because let me tell you what happens when you replace somebody. That person that you replace them with, they already know that they can be replaced because they saw you do it to the person that used to have the seat.
Yeah.
So I am looking for persons who are willing to run for office or persons who would be willing to work in campaigning. Okay? Because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my time. And some of you who are interested in running, I may tell you, you're not ready right now. This is not your time.
Yep.
You might want to sit back for an hour or two and let someone else run first. And maybe you want to go and serve with them and get some additional knowledge. And with that being said, again, I'm Georgia Allen, Georgia F. Allen, GA for Justice. I'm here every Thursday at 12 noon to 1 o'clock on WVDM, the best of the 757.
All right, all right, all right. But before we close, I want to send a shout out to Franklin City Council Greg McLemore, who had invited me to come be part of the entertainment for the first Juneteenth in Franklin.
All
And
right.
I also received a gold mic
All right.
for the entertainment. And I just didn't want to end the show without acknowledging it uh, for the people down in Franklin and thanking him for inviting me to be a part of the first Juneteenth uh, event.
All right.
Yes.
Well, everybody, we will see you next week, and Henderson is going to take us out.
All right. You just been listening and watching GA for Justice with your host, the one and only community activist, Georgia Allen. And don't forget, this broadcast will be broadcast over the 4th of July weekend at an earlier time for those that may not have an opportunity to view it today, but it will be replayed. And starting in July, I will replay the Thursdays in the evening as well so that people can get a chance and an opportunity to watch more and get more informative what Miss Georgia Allen is doing in the community. But once again, thank you for listening and watching. And don't forget to share this with people on your social media page, the GA for Justice with Georgia Allen, community activist. Until next week, bye bye.
Bye bye.